Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today, update number 1 or day number 2 or whatever you call it on the God tier Chaosslinger, which is an Essence Drain Contagion Spellslinger. The EDC Tankster from 2 leagues ago, the Spellslinger from last league ago, combined and just throw, yeah, a couple chaos on it, or exalt, or mirrors. Flex build number 3. So yesterday, or at least in last videos, I was talking about the rough building of this one with the Essence Drain character, 15k ES, 9 million DPS and stuff like that. So we covered that one, right? Then in the end of the video, I was said like, let's go start creating this character. So I leveled this one up. Currently level 72 mbXtreme. We currently have a playtime of 8 hours, which was about, I think, like 6 hours until mapping, and then like 2 hours of like running a couple breachstones and do some crafting and stuff like that. So nothing too fancy on that part. But as I said, I want to like document everything. Let me quickly close Discord real quick before this keeps on spamming here. So, I said I want to document everything. What did I spend on the character? What did I craft? And also, how did I craft it, right? But before we're going to go into that, just a quick reminder, if you are new to Essence Drain Contagion, just so how it works, just the basics. I explained that quite often already, but let's just do it again. Never mind. We have basically 2 abilities, which is Essence Drain and Contagion. Essence Drain is doing shit tons of damage, while Contagion is doing absolutely nothing. But the thing is, the Essence Drain gets delivered with the Contagion as soon as this monster is dying, right? So this is basically the strategy or how this build basically works. So if I just remove real quick my Spellslingers over here on the Essence Drain and on the Contagion, and just move that over here, so we have like our Contagion, right? And we have our Essence Drain. So if I just go to Blood Aqueducts real quick to showcase on just how this build functions, right? We basically... as I said, the Essence Drain is doing the millions of damage, right? But it just doesn't have a good clear, right? It's just like a small explosion, so you probably would like throw Essence Drains all over the place to kill monsters, right? Contagion, basically the circle, is just like a damage over time effect as well, that isn't really doing a lot of damage. But the cool thing is, once a monster dies, you see those other blue explosions, right? Or at least the circles. And this basically spreads on its own. And the cool combination is when a monster is dying while Contagion, the circle is on and is affected by Essence Drain, the Essence Drain gets delivered with the circle of the Contagion. And this is why I can make massive amounts of chain reaction, just making Essence Drain Contagion, and the big debuff that is doing millions of damage is getting delivered with the Contagion itself. So just for the small reminder on how this build actually works. And now we basically do the same just as a Spellslinger. That means we have a wand attack, or at least have a wand equip. Now we can use a Spellslinger on my Essence Drain and Contagion, reserve that as an aura. And what that basically means is as soon as I shoot with my wand, whether it's an auto attack or I'm using Power Siphon at the moment, I'm shooting my Contagion and my Essence Drain at the same time. So what I do is just moving to a target, press one button instead of like Essence Drain Contagion self-cast, and I just move around and just hit my Power Siphon, and it will deliver the Contagion and Essence Drain. So in today's video, I want to go over the accessories that I crafted, which is basically my Amulet that I crafted like right before the video, which is this one. Then we're going to talk about the belt and also my 2 rings that I crafted. So this is the crafting process or project that I made basically already. So I want to talk over the cost, what it cost me about, and also how to make those things. I would say we're going to start off with the belt, which is a crystal belt that I cannot wear at the moment because I'm only level 72, but it's quite funny that I actually have like 10,000 energy shield already on level 72, which is kind of insane. But yeah. So let's start with the belt, as I said. So the belt is basically a crystal belt with a high item level. I think mine is like all the items that I buy is like item level 86. It's nothing too special here. But what I want is basically double ES and increased energy shield recovery rate. So how does this work? How do you know what belt base to get? First of all, go to Craft of Exile. Basically, this is almost my start site when I open my Google Chrome, basically, because I'm using that so often. So basically, you just have to think about, what is my build? Is it life-based? Is it energy shield-based? So it's energy shield-based, so crystal belt would be a really good base. So if we just go PoE belts, We basically just search for the right belt. These are the belts that we have, right? Do I need ES? Well, yes, I do, but the chain belt is just the weak version, basically, of the crystal belt, because this one has like 80 max ES, this one has 20, right? Rustic Sash, Global Fist Damage, not interesting. Stygian White with an Abyss Socket is interesting, to be honest, because Abyss Sockets can be crafted with Harvest as well, so you can get some really ridiculous ones, but I'd rather prefer the big ES pull to reach actually my 15,000, right? Strength, Life, Stun Block, Recovery, all not really interesting, so we go with the Crystal Belt on that one, right? So, we're gonna go to Craft of Exile, we say Crystal Belt, and now we basically check what modifiers are on that, what can I get, and what would be a really good one, right? So basically you can just go over all of these influences, basically, and then pick all the stats that you would like to have. And for me, it basically was, if we call this prefix, we have T1 ES, T1% ES, then one questionable stat, and for the suffix, we probably have like T1 ES recovery, so we have a triple ES belt. Recovery is basically everything that's like based on life leech, life reach, and it's just like you regen the same amount just faster because you have a faster recovery rate, right? And then probably fill it up with resistance. So basically that means I have energy shield, so I can just search that energy shield, which is on the base itself. I don't need an influence for the energy shield. But if we say we want to have percent in energy shield, which is basically the second stat on the third stat on this 1% energy shield, we have to go down and we see like Shaper has the recovery rate, so that would be an option. Crusader has the recovery rate, and Crusader has also the increased maximum ES. So basically what I do is I fill that one out, right? So I say like this is base stat, the ES percent is basically a Crusader mod. The TS recovery we just saw is a Crusader and Shaper modifier, since we have that both here, and the rest doesn't really matter, right? So Incursion, so no energy shield mods on Redeemer, Warlord, Hunter, or something like that. So I can pretty much close all of that again, because it will be definitely a Crusader, maybe Crusader Shaper base, right? So, since we have both of these mods on Crusader and only the recovery on Shaper, that means that the Crusader base is better, right? So that's why we go for a Crusader base in that part. Resistance basically are all base modifiers, so we can type this here as well. Base, then we have a base modifier as well. And then for the questionable stat, there is like not a good ones. Like LE damage with attacks, I'm a caster build, right? Life recovery from flasks, not interesting. Mana recovery rate doesn't matter as well. I have enough regen. Armor, I don't know, like, there is like not really good prefixes. Shaper would have LE damage, doesn't matter. Abyssal Cry doesn't matter. You take extra damage from critical strikes. That is not bad. So basically when I get crit, that crit deals less damage. So that will be some thing, right? So crit damage from attacks, which is also Shaper modifier. So it looks like we're gonna go for a Shaper Crusader base, right? Other stats that would be interesting, I think like the Warlord has the reduced extra critical strikes as well, but I would say Shaper Crusader would be the thing, basically, right? Here, the Shaper for the crit and the Crusader for the double ES. Basically, and pure Crusader belt is okay, but mine is Crusader Warlord just because it was my old Righteous Fire belt, right? And I wasn't too sure when I went for Warlord if I want to have the increased fire damage or the reduced crit. Basically the same as the Shaper modifier, right? And that's why I still have this belt over, so I just take this for this belt as well. So, that means we have now our crit damage from attacks. We're gonna make this Warlord now, so you basically understand why my belt is Warlord. And then we have Crusader, so we can remove the Shaper, and the other stats are base. So now you basically write down what are the tags of this mod. So T1 ES is basically a defense modifier. That's the black text over here, right? Then we go for the T1%. This is also defense modifier, right? So this is now kind of weird, or at least hard to craft, because you have two modifiers already that are sitting on the same tag over here. The critical damage from attacks is a crit modifier, so that's pretty easy. Then we have the TS recovery over here, which is also defense modifier. And you see, holy shit, that's going to be quite hefty in crafting, right? And res, basically what do I have over here? Cold and lightning, right? So we're just gonna take cold res and also lightning res. And the easy thing here, this one has a cold tag, this one has obviously a lightning tag. So we know what base we want to have. We know what influences we need, now we know what stats we're gonna take. And now you start crafting the spell based on what is the hardest, right? If I say like, hey, I could just like chaos spam for T1 ES and then like augment defense with harvest and hope that I hit T1, and what if I not hit T1? I have to add remove defense. That's going to be quite expensive. So we know we have an item that has 3 defensive modifiers, right? So I would say starting this one off, at least the way I did it, was using dense fossils. So fossil, dense, and dense, I just don't have one at the moment, which is the one that gives you more defense modifiers. So the problem with that is if we now search for defense modifiers, we can roll armor, ES, energy shield from body armor on Shaper. Shaper is now done, basically. We have Warlord now, so we take Warlord, Crusader, and that's it. So basically, we now have ES, armor, ES, armor. And on the suffix, the ES, right? So you see we have a lot of armor and energy shield things, right? But it's still going to be cheaper than remove add defense to hit that one. Don't worry about the defense on the suffix, because as you see, this one is the only defense modifier on a suffix. So if we are able to hit prefixes with double ES, then we can just like, prefixes cannot be changed and then augment defense on the suffix and add remove defense to just standalone hit this mod, right? So that's pretty easy. So I started to, what is it called? Dense fossil spamming to hit this combination. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I hit like 10 times T1 ES, T1% ES, and armor. And the problem is, all of these have defensive modifiers. So you cannot like remove defense that easy and like split the armor rate here, right? So what I did is dense fossil spamming until T1, and then annul off if it had armor. And it happened like 7 times that I had this combination, and 7 times I annulled off one of those two, so I had to start over again, right? So at some point, I was able to get T1 ES, T1% ES with any other modifiers that I can remove, right? So hopefully not intelligence. That would not even be too bad if it's a suffix, because in the end we could always craft prefix cannot be changed, scour off, and we were left alone with this base, right? So basically what we have now is this base with double T1 ES, so we need to work on the next one. Crit is just in one single time. I think there is no other critical modifier than this one. There is actually increased chance against shocked enemies, but you can like add crit and remove add crit like 1 or 2 times, because the weighting is like 1500 to 1000, so it shouldn't take too long to get this stat going, right? So that's not a problem. The TS recovery is, as we just learned, an augment defense on the suffix, and it's going to be 100% chance to hit that one, so that's not a problem either. And cold and lightning res aren't hard either. So I would say the first thing we're gonna do now is basically fix the TS recovery. So I would just craft any kind of, or actually you can craft anything. Let's say craft life, right? So all of my prefixes are full and we have absolutely no suffixes, right? So now I would just augment defense, because if you don't craft life, if you don't block the life modifier here, to block the prefix, you could augment defense and hit back the armor roll. So we don't want to have that. We have our double T1 ES, we have our crafted life, and now we go for an augment defense because prefix is full. So we 100% gonna hit energy shield recovery rate. The problem is this has 2 tiers. So if you don't hit tier 1 right away, you need to craft prefixes, cannot be changed, and then add remove defense, and it will re-roll the energy shield recovery into energy shield recovery, because it's the only defense modifier on the suffix. But then yet again, it's just a couple, like 2 or 3 rerolls probably, and it will give you the T1. They're both having the same weight, so just 50-50 chance, like always, if you get it or not, right? And once this is done, we can like keep the crafted life on it, and then we just augment cold, augment lightning, augment crit, and then basically augment light and colding, so we get the suffixes done. I think there is only those 2. Lightning has only 1 attack, and remove shock on flask, so probably some add remove lightnings to hit the T1 lightning res. The same on cold, there is only cold resistance on the suffix, so we got that. And we are basically then left alone with the ES recovery, with the double res, and then we remove the crafted life and augment crit until we hit the critical damage. And that's basically it. And then you can like start divining. And divining, I would always go for the ES divines first, and then crit divine, cold divine, lightning divine, until you hit all of that on T1. So basically that belt cost me about, if I scroll up here, I don't have this in this calculation over here just because I'm not wearing it at the moment. And the calculation is based on what I'm wearing at the moment, right? So not even having any belt over here. But it was about 35 or 40 exalts in total that I was able to make this belt the way it looks like right now. Good, let's go over to the rings. Since I explained quite well, I think, how to block certain mechanics and how to get certain mechanics, we're just going to make this a little bit faster on the ring. Basically, what rings do we have? The best ring bases are Opal Ring and Steel Ring, so I have to ask myself, am I an Elemental build? I'm not, so Opal Ring falls off, right? Am I a Fist build? I'm not, Steel Ring falls off. So the next thing would be either a Resistance Ring, like Two-Toned Rings or something, or I went with the Moonstone Ring because they have the Energy Shield implicit. So what do I have on these ones? I have Spell Damage, I have Chaos Damage, I have, actually, Spell Damage, T1 int, T1 percent ES, basically T1, god damn it, T1 ES, percent ES, the double ES roll, and on the suffix, I'm having chaos damage and double res roll, right? So, then we basically just make the same, we go over, we go Craft of Exile once again, and we go for the Moonstone ring over here, and then we're gonna check again all the stats, and basically Crusader gives you the percent ES, and the Essence Craft gives you the Chaos damage, right? So basically I know now, Spell Damage is a caster modifier. I'm just gonna make this a little bit quicker now. This one is a defense modifier, this one is a defense. The Chaos damage is an Essence Craft. The Resistance, I think, is like, yeah, whatever. Let's say light, fire, cold, and the same one on the other part. So I know I can target craft the Resistance, I can target craft the Energy Shield, I can target craft the Spell Damage. The only thing I cannot target craft is the Essence. And I was crafting those with the Essence of, I think, Envy. Yeah, Envy has the increased Chaos damage. This is something I cannot harvest craft, so I need to get my base, and I need to start spamming some Essence of Envy. And then basically have all the mods there that I can remove. So if I have like lightning, cold, fire res on it, I can just remove one of those res. If it's like a life on it, I can remove the life. But I would say get a bunch of those, and every time you hit like mana or intelligence, you either annul it off or you just reroll until you have an item that basically has chaos damage on a Crusader base with modifiers that you can remove. And then we basically started off with I think it was the Suffixes first, or was it this caster or something? It doesn't really matter, all of these are targetable. So I could just start with the Essence of Envy, then I can like augment light, augment cold, right? But this can also be cold damage to attacks, lightning damage to attacks. So I would say better would be getting the prefixes first done. So I don't think there is too many defense modifiers that you can have on this ring. Defense, so Essence falls off. So Suffix, there is not a single defense modifier, right? So I would go with 2 times Augment Defense, then 1 time Augment Caster, then 2 times, or at least 1 time Augment like Cold, for example, and Augment Fire, right? So that would basically guarantee us the 2 defense on the prefix. We don't care about what the prefixes are right now, right? We do 1 caster. I think there is actually caster suffixes as well, which is cast speed. So might take add remove caster to get this on the prefix somewhere. And then all the prefixes are full with those. And then we just augment cold fire and it will hit me the suffixes anyways. And then you just keep on going with add remove fire until T1, add remove cold until T1, add remove caster until you hit the spell damage modifier. I think it was only caster, spell damage, yeah, caster. And then you basically just add remove defense all the way until you hit your double T1. A good thing to know about, let's see, T1 ES, T1% ES. What is the best way of crafting those with the least amount of currency? Basically, we have remove defense, we have add defense, and we have remove and add defense. So the best way is you have 1 stat on there, basically, right? I mean, in our example, it's 2, so we probably would start with a remove defense, so we soak up 1 of the defense modifier. And then you basically have 1 defense mod, right? So you remove add defense remove at defense until T1, either T1 ES or T1% ES, right? And then you go with Augment defense. So you augment the second and hope that it's going to be T1% ES or T1 ES on the other side, right? If it's not, you basically start remove at defense to basically try to save this one, right? So basically, let's say we have T1 ES, T2% ES, right? So we remove at defense. As long as this stat gets rerolled, we have a chance to get the T1, right? But if this stat gets rerolled, we have to start over. So let's say we have remove at and we actually remove the T1 ES and now we are left alone with T3 and T2, right? So what I would do now is basically remove one stat, one of those doesn't matter, and then remove at again until it hits T1 again, so we augment again, right? So this is the principle that I use on all my double ES bases, whether it's the boots, the gloves, the shield. At the moment we are doing exactly that. We have T1 tier 2 at the moment. So here I'm also like, the next step would be add remove defense for trying to save the T1. If it's ripped, remove one defense, keep on rerolling until T1 and augment again, right? Good. That's basically the ring. I have two of those. They're pretty much the same, just one has fire cold resistance, the other has cold lightning resistance, but they're crafted exactly the same. Which leaves us open with the last item for this video, which is the Amulet. So the Amulet is quite harder on this part. So we have an Amulet that is Hunter influenced because there is a couple of stats that we are interested. So if you're wondering why I'm using a Marble Amulet, since my small cluster jewels have a bunch of all attributes, I don't really need stats at all, right? And if I have 15,000 energy shield, like almost 2% regen that is getting converted in energy shield regen through the Zealot's Oath is quite a lot. It gives me like 400 or 500 energy shield regen per second when I wear this amulet. And I think this is better than actually like maybe 100 ES on tops, right? So I think I had like 15.1k, now I'm down to 15k flat, but I'm like on 2000 regen. So I think the Marble Amulet for me, since I can cover the strength and dexterity through my cluster jewels, is the better version. So we know there is a bunch of stats. You basically just go again through all of the list here and check all of the stats that would be interesting. For me, it's on prefix. We have plus like percent, T1% ES, which is better than the flat ES. On this part, you always need to like check that one in Path of Building, like, hey, let me remove the percent ES at flat ES. What does my energy shield say? Is it better or not? But as far as I saw, if it's a base that is energy shield inflicted, right? So Fingerless Silk Gloves is an energy shield base, right? There is usually always the flat ES better. But if it's like an amulet where this is a global thing, right? Then the percent ES is usually better. But better to check it off on PoE. Path of Building. Holy shit, let me get a sip of coffee here. Alright, so we want T1 percent ES, then we have +1 int gems, +1 chaos gems. And on the suffixes, I want chaos.multi, I want aspect of the spider, and I also want, what was the last? Malevolence has reduced mana reservation. So, to make this faster, I'll just gonna list down the tags because I pretty much know all the tags already. That is a defense tag that doesn't have a tag, or at least it does have a tag, and when I write this one, it means I cannot harvest craft it. It does have a gem tag though, but there is no add remove gems on harvest. This one is a chaos. Then we have chaos.multi is also a chaos. Then reduced mana reservation is a mana tag and aura tag that doesn't exist in harvest. And aspect of the spider is just a craft, right? So I know I have two modifiers that I cannot harvest craft, and I have two chaos modifiers that I can harvest craft, but there's still two chaos modifiers. So the first thing to do is ours chaos, like the chance of hitting that, right? It is on a hunter base, basically the intelligence and the malevolence. So you could technically outspam that, right? So if we're gonna go over here, we say we have a Marble Amulet, we have an Hunter Influence over here. And basically just remove all the rest over here so it doesn't look too scary here. We have the damage over time, physical damage over time that I want, or chaos damage over time. So lock this in, and then the intelligence. And this, if I would alt spam it, since it's one prefix, one suffix, would be about 119,000 alterations to hit that combination, which is ridiculous because both of those have such a low weighting. And basically, if you say like, you probably get 1 exalt for 1,000 alterations, means like 120 exalts just to get the alt spamming on this one. Approximately 100 exalts, right? So I found out I will do this differently. So I'm like chaos spamming for Malevolence mod, right? And once this is done, let's see, what influence modifiers do I have? Aspect of the Spider is not an influence. Chaos.multi is an influence. +1 chaos is an influence. +1 int is an influence. T1 is not, right? So let's just write this one down real quick. So that is an influence modifier, and as well as this one, and this one, and this one. So we have 4 influence modifiers. So I chaos spam for Malevolence, and I try to have any influence modifiers. Maybe like 1 on the prefix is fine, because we're gonna reroll 1 influence modifier now, right? So we could just chaos spam, and let's say we have, let's say life, LE damage, or let's say Widu. Then we have like, I don't know, fire damage, 2 attacks. We have Malevolence, let's say, Cold Res, and any other stat, cast speed, I don't care, you know? So let's say we chaos spammed, or let's just go for a 5 mod. We chaos spammed and hit the Malevolence modifier, right? This is what we want to have. We don't want anything else here, right? So, but I know that the second modifier that I need on the item doesn't have attack. So I need to find a way to get the T1 intelligence on the prefixes. So what I do is I fill up my my suffixes. So basically here I could just like augment, fire, augment, lightning, something like that to fill up my prefixes. And now I'm going to remove one of those here, right? Just one basically. Here I can remove fire, here I can remove attack. Both have actually attack. Here I can remove life. Everything harvestable, right? But let's say we get rid of the fire damage to attacks, right? So we have now an amulet that has double prefix, triple suffix. And now basically... No? Stop on this point. I'm just like thinking way too fast. We need to, since this one is an influence modifier as well, right? If we would add remove influence now, we could get rid of the Malevolence mod. So we need to make sure that this doesn't happen. So what I would assume, either you like remove all of those stats, you can either like suffixes cannot be changed, scour off, so you have just 3 suffixes without prefixes, right? What the next point would be, augment influence modifier. So add an influence modifier to an item, basically 1 exalt craft or something, right? But the list of prefixes that has an influence modifier is okay, I would say, with the movement speed having the highest weighting. So we augment influence and shit, we hit movement speed, right? Which is a speed mod, which is not too bad because all the other modifiers can be rerolled, right? Or let's go with... I don't know, let's go with this one, for example. So we augment influence, we hit this stat, right? I cannot, like, remove that because it's an elemental modifier. And I cannot, like, remove elemental modifier, right? So what is the next stat to do there? The same, basically, as on the energy shield, where we add remove influence until we hit a certain stat and then augment, right? So... basically, if I do add remove influence now, it could either get rid of my Malevolence or the damage pen. So to make sure that Malevolence will stay, we're gonna craft suffixes cannot be changed, right? So we basically have now an amulet that has the pen, the suffixes cannot be changed, and Malevolence. Now I'm basically just add remove influence. And on some point, you're probably gonna hit the movement speed modifier, which is bad and good at the same time, right? Because this has a speed tag, so I know I can remove speed later on, right? And the more influence modifiers I have on the item, the more it blocks out. So let's say I do add remove influence and I'm actually hitting the movement speed, which is a speed tag, which is also an influence tag. But what that means, I can now just augment influence again, because if I now hit the +1 intelligence, I can remove the speed modifier. But the thing is, why do I want to have 2 influences? Because if I aug influence, I cannot hit the movement speed once again. And movement speed has the highest weighting out of all of the influence modifiers, right? So that means I'm fine with that. So we aug influence and now we hit damage pen again, right? What we do now? Basically, remove influence. So either we remove this one and augment again, or we remove this one and we're gonna keep on add remove influence until this one is either finally my T1 intelligence or it's again movement speed that I can remove again, right? And this is basically the thing. And then at some point, I had this actually, that I had movement speed. And then I augmented +1 intelligence. And then I said like remove movement speed, and this was gone, you know? So I have my malevolence, I have my T1 int. Those are basically both of the modifiers that I cannot get, right? So you basically can now work on the next thing, which is the chaos modifiers. We know we have one chaos.multi on the suffix. We know we have one chaos on the prefix. How to do that? We do the same with blocking. So the first thing, since we have all of our suffixes blocked, we can now just augment chaos and it will hit the prefix. Usually it was like chaos damage, leeched as life, you know, because it's also a chaos tag. To remove the chance of that, or at least you can basically just out chaos and then remove add chaos until you hit the +1 chaos. Wasn't too hard, to be honest. Was like, I don't know, like 10 add remove chaos to hit that, or even less, I don't know. So now we have the +1 chaos on top. How do we get now the +1 chaos dot without drawing in the +1 chaos? And this is basically, we remove basically one of our resistances, right? So let's just say we remove the cult res. And then we basically, like say, we craft life again. So we basically fill up our prefixes again, and now we basically augment chaos, and it's going to hit the chaos suffix, right? Once this is done, I remove the crafted life, and I say, I remove the lightning res. Now, wait, yeah. I remove the lightning res now, and craft prefixes cannot be changed, right? So basically the same way as I just blocked the suffixes to get my T1 chaos, we do the same now, or at least the T1 int, we do prefixes cannot be changed. So whatever I'm going to do with add remove chaos will only affect the suffix. And now we keep on spamming add remove chaos. So we reroll that until we hit the T1 multi, right? And then to finish it off, we basically just craft aspect of the spider. It's always going to be a suffix. And then either like craft ES for now, or just augment defense and reroll at defense until you hit the T1. And this is how I created this one today. And at the moment I have crafted ES just because the crafted ES goes up to 20%, while the T1% is 22%. And since I have a lot more stuff to craft already, and currency is like, yeah, currency is just currency, but still I need to focus on other items first with my currency, rather than getting 2% extra ES at the moment on the amulet. This will be something on the very late stage, like minor priority, to get the T1 % ES as well. But this amulet cost me roughly 20 exalts to make. Even though it sounds kind of ridiculous, despite the fact that add remove influence is 2 exalts per try, remove influence and add influence, like separated, is like 1 exalt per piece. I think I spent 10 exalts on the add remove influence to get the +1 intelligence. The add remove chaos is like 30-40 chaos per piece. Then you count in the prefixes cannot be changed, suffixes cannot be changed, is like 2 exalts. But overall, this is probably the undisputed best chaos dot amulet. And this is roughly going for 20-25 exalts that I spend for crafting, you know? And usually some items like that you probably find for like mirror service or 100 exalts or something like that. But now you know how it's working, and now you know that you can make this yourself for a lot cheaper. So good, we covered the belt, how we crafted, the rings, the amulet that I still cannot wear because I'm not level 74 yet. And yeah, this is basically it. Then I bought the shafts for +4 shafts AoE projectiles, which are also the tags for the essence drainer. So if we take a look here, we have my opal wand. This is just aberrant fossil spammed. It's not the wand that I plan to craft, but this is just like whatever I get. I had like T1 chaos and T4.multi. This is just placeholder, okay? But I did spend the base quite a lot for the 3 white sockets and hunter item level 86 and so on. It's just like, you know, I like my white sockets as well, so I spent quite a lot for the base, which is not really necessary, because the opal wand 86 goes for like 30 chaos or so. Yeah, I paid quite some exalts for the white sockets, I know. The boots chaos spammed, the gloves chaos spammed, so I don't count them in. It's just the base price. What I paid, like 10 exalts a piece. This one as well, because I found somebody with white sockets for split beast, so I get the base as well. I was spamming enchanted fossils for my crafts, or the enchants for boots and gloves. Then the Awakener Orb with Elder and Warlord, because I need to Essence craft them later on, so it doesn't matter what I merge together. It's just about preparing the bases. There's like 10 exalts per piece. The shafts for 25x. The helm I already finished crafting, that was like dense fossil spamming. And some other modifiers, but the helm and other stuff I will go over in the next video. I don't want to talk like 3 hours straight just on how to make items. So today we went over the accessories, which is rings, amulet, and the belt. On the next video we probably talk about the shield and helmet and stuff like that. Then we have the 2 rings. The initial cost, 1 ring I could finish in like 15 exalts. The other one took over 100 exalts, just because the add remove energy shield is super unlucky. All the other mods, the essence, the spell damage, add remove caster, it's like 5 exalts or so in total to fix that ring, right? But this one took like 10 add remove defense to hit double T1. This one took like over 100 add remove defense to get it. So basically, usually the value would be more like, okay, this was like 15x, this one was like 120x or so, right? But what I did is just combining both, since they're both basically the same, right? They're both the same items, just with one mixed resistance. That's why I said we count them both together, divided by 2, so I can say roughly 75x per ring on that part. Then we have our flask setup that I talked about in the Path of Building, which is about 12x for the Bottled Faith, just because it's that good rolled. It's not really necessary. The only thing on this build is the 10% increased damage taken to the enemies. It's probably 8 exalts, but since I had this one from other builds, which is 195 critical strike chance, explains why it's like 3x more expensive than the usual one. Then my Watcher's Eye that I got now, this is the one that I was talking, that I bought for 2 mirrors with Discipline, Spellblock, Dot Multi, and Clarity ES. That's why 425, that was when the mirror price was like 210 or something, so I bought this one for 2 mirror. Then I have my Spreading Rod with Corrupted Blood for 1.5 exalts, and I also got a Thread of Hope with Cannot Be Cursed with Silence with a -10 for 5 exalts today. And then all the gems that I could get. As I said, no Awakened gems yet because I am 72, and all the level 6 Awakened gems needs like level 82 to equip. So basically I only have the 21, 23 gems in there that are like, all of those are like perfect, either 21, 23 or like 123, just because I can have an Arcane Surge 21, 23 because I want to proc this one on every single Flame Dash basically, so I need to keep it lower level. Which sums up to 980 exalts at the moment equipped on the character, which is about 3.5 mirrors on today's exalt exchange ratio of 1 to 152. I'm not sure if mirror is still 275, it was yesterday, so I just leave that one in. And that means I spend about 80 exalts. So if we take if you say like, how do you get to 1,000 exalts on this build, right? So 125 was the shafts, 425 was the Watcher's Eye. Then we have about 80 exalts just on the gems here, right? So basically, let's just sum up this one over here, so you just get an overview. Summarize over here. Basically, summarize this one. So, it's 630 just for those 3 things like gems, the Watcher's Eye, and the shafts. What else is like super expensive on this build? We have now 150x basically for both of the rings, is 780. Then what else was expensive? Like the belt is not in there at the moment. The Loath Coroner, and the shield that I did not talk about yet is like another 150 basically, that is already in the, like, exists already, and basically 70x or like 50x is basically the rest of the gear at the moment. Good. Enough talking, enough theory crafting. I'm gonna like start streaming now. Gonna get this character up to like probably level 90 today. I finished my amulet as well. I need to still finish the gloves and the boots and the wands. This will be a very hard process to do. But overall, the character feels amazing. The MTX looks pretty cool with all the blue shenanigans over there. And yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this series. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.